Hello my lovelies, it's me again, and I thought today I would talk to you about what my signs and symptoms were that led up to me being diagnosed with cervical cancer, stage 1, grade 1B1. But before I do that, I've got a couple things I want to show you or share with you. So a couple months ago, my husband and I went to an annual gala that my foundation puts on. I'm a committee member of a not-for-profit foundation called Face of Today, and I'm going to put a link to our website in the down bar in case you're interested to know about exactly what we do. But the whole premise is that we inspire leaders of tomorrow, or leaders of, we inspire and educate the future leaders of tomorrow. So children with underprivileged backgrounds, to be able to put them in the training courses and camps and things that allows them the skills necessary to be what they've always wanted to be in the future. So we did a Great Gatsby theme this year, and we raised $200,000 that goes directly to local Vancouver youth-oriented charities. It gets dispersed throughout different charities. And anyway, so it was a Great Gatsby theme, and Hello Canada was there. And it was the March issue, and one of our family members was in the doctor's office and was sitting on the table, and they flipped through it and they're like, oh my gosh, I know those people. So here are me and my husband decked out. My husband looks so handsome. You see that? Right there we are. There's me, there's him. Anyway, so that came in the mail. I ordered 4 copies because I'm going to disperse them throughout family members, my mother-in-law, my mom, my dad, all those people. And on Saturday, I got a lovely surprise. These arrived all the way from the UK from my mother in a lovely vase or vase, whichever country you come from. So yeah, these are really heavy. Thanks so much, Mum. Mwah. Thank you for those. So that was a really nice surprise on Saturday to get those. And yeah, so signs and symptoms that led me up to my diagnosis. So I've thought about this lots and lots, as you can imagine, over the past week, and trying to nail down really when the start of this all happened. But to be honest, I can't really nail down a date. I know for sure I started noticing things in September of 2012, so just last year, but to be honest, just the way things were going, and you'll understand in a second, it probably did start a little bit before then. And unfortunately, the cancer, they can't really tell when the cancer started. It's all very indicative of the type of cancer in your body and everything else. So what had happened was, in September of last year, I had my IUD removed. I had an IUD on and off for about 6 or 7 years. And the IUD that I had was the copper IUD. There's 2 types of IUDs. You can get the copper or the non-copper one that's got a little bit of hormones in it. I chose not to do the hormonal one. I had previously come off from the pill, which gave me adverse reaction. I was depressed, I was up, I was down, so I wanted something that was completely non-hormonal, so that's why I chose the copper IUD. Now, the copper IUD does have with it side effects. Your periods go on for longer, and they're heavier. I've been very lucky that my periods have always come at the same time every month, so I've never had any problems there, and yet after having the copper IUD inserted, my periods were longer, but it was a small price for me to pay for birth control that wasn't going to give me all these weird hormonal side effects. Anyway, so my husband has a vasectomy, so I didn't really need the IUD, and my periods were getting longer and longer at that point, and I was just like, this IUD needs to go. Not realizing that might have been due to something else, but I thought, well, I'm just going to take it out. I want my periods to go back to normal, which were usually about 5 to 7 days on average long before the IUD. I got it taken out, and it was excruciating to take out, and now a little bit part of me wonders is because my cervix was so inflamed to begin with all the pre-cancer stuff that was going on in there, and maybe the cancer that was there. And even after the first month, my period never went back to the same. My periods were still really long. I was spotting throughout the month, and if I condensed all the days that I was spotting, it would have been 3 weeks out of the month. I still didn't think anything of it. It was annoying, but it wasn't enough to get me into a doctor's office to get it checked out. I just thought, well, maybe my body needs a couple more cycles to really get back into the swing of things without an IUD. So by December, what started happening is with all the spotting, I noticed that after sex, I would see blood streaks in my bodily fluids per se, if you want to know. But again, I thought nothing of it because I was spotting so much throughout the month that I thought, well, it's probably because I'm spotting again today. It's not directly a result of the period, of the sex. So anyway, so we went to London at Christmas time and we had a great time. It was kind of our pseudo honeymoon. We were married in December, and so we were there in the UK from the 26th until just after New Year's, and things were fine. We were having a lot of sex. It was amazing and wonderful, and the stuff that you do during your honeymoon. And everything was fine other than the spotting and the streaking after sex once in a while. Fast forward to the second week of January, suddenly it became painful to have sex. And when I mean painful, it wasn't like burning or itching. It was just a pain, like a sharp pain. It wasn't enjoyable. Something was wrong. And after a couple more days or weeks of this, my husband's like, go and find out what's going on. It's affecting our sex life. Go find out. So I went into the doctor's office, and that's where she gave me a pap smear. And the pap smear, the first results that she came back, I was testing positive for yeast. And she's like, oh, you have a yeast infection. I'm like, perfect. Even though I didn't have the redness and the itching that goes along with the yeast infection, I was like, great, just tell me something's wrong with me so I can take something and it'll all be fixed. So I took a Canesten pill, waited 24 hours, had sex. Sex was still painful, and then about 5 days later, she called me with the fact that she thought that I had my pap came back abnormal, and she thought that it might be precancerous. So then I had the biopsy, which was in a coloscopy, and then the LEEP surgery, and the LEEP surgery showed that I had cancer. Couple notes to mention for those of you who haven't had a PAP. Please go get a PAP. Please make sure you're doing it at least once a year. If I remember correctly, I hadn't probably had a PAP in over a year and a half prior to the PAP that I just had a couple months ago. So I was definitely late on that. In Canada, it's still regarded that women should have a PAP once a year, and I think they start doing it in their late teens. I know in the UK, if you're under 25, they don't regularly screen you they don't regularly do PAPs, so the screening's a little bit different. I've heard rumblings that Canada's going to go the way of the UK, but right now, I think 16 or 17 is the year where they start recommending it once a year. But yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that I had a PAP, I would have never found out. I was lucky in a way that I did have textbook symptoms for cervical cancer. Not every woman has symptoms, and a lot of my friends, when they found out, they're like, well, what were your symptoms? And I'm like, look, don't take my symptoms as Bible, because a lot of them go unnoticed, and a lot of women don't have symptoms until it's much, much later on in the cancer, and then it can be quite serious. So the main thing is just to get your PAPs every year. But yeah, the textbook symptoms of cervical cancer, if you have them, are spotting between periods, painful sex, and bleeding after sex. Those are sort of the big indicators. But again, a lot of women don't have them. So I was lucky in that respect. But I was silly looking back, where the part that got me in to go and see a doctor was when my sex life became problematic, and not the spotting that I was experiencing September last year. And who knows, if I had gone in September last year, perhaps I would have only got to the stage 0, which is pre-cancer, and not the actual cancer itself. But you never know, and the doctors can't tell me exactly when it started. The one thing that has been proven is just regular PAPs. I'm very happy to hear that 2 of my friends, since my diagnosis, have gone out and scheduled themselves in with a doctor to get a PAP. They said that they are pretty regular, but probably they haven't had a PAP in the last year and a half, 2 years. So they're going to see that. So that makes me happy, because if anything that we've learned from this, I'm encouraging all you women that are eligible and are able to get in to do that. It's just to get a PAP. It's like making it part of your sort of routine of getting your teeth cleaned. Go and get a PAP. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I hope it was somewhat helpful in understanding sort of the process of where I am now and today, and how I got there, and what my symptoms were. If you do have questions specifically for me, I am more than happy to answer them. If you want to private message me, please do so. Again, I will have a conversation with you, no problem. Anyway, I hope you guys had a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Please rate, comment, and subscribe on my videos. I'd love to hear your comments and your own stories, as I've sort of previously mentioned. And yeah, I will be talking with you guys very, very soon. Lots of love.